What if I told you Moscow's skies, once thought untouchable, were lit up by explosions no one expected? For years, Russia's capital has been portrayed as the most secure city in the world, surrounded by layers of defenses, missiles, and cutting-edge radar systems designed to stop anything from getting through. Yet, in the dead of night, Ukraine managed to pierce that shield, sending shockwaves across the heart of Russia. The skies over Moscow erupted in fire, the sound of blasts echoed through the streets, and stunned residents captured the terrifying reality on their phones. This is not just another news headline. This is the moment when the war reached a place many thought was impossible. And today, you're going to see the footage they don't want you to see as we break down what really happened, why it matters, and how it changes the future of this war. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Future Force Skies and Skills. Please subscribe and like my videos because today we are diving into something absolutely shocking, something that is shaking the very foundation of how people see this war. What if I told you that Moscow's skies that were supposed to be untouchable, were lit up by fire, smoke, and explosions that no one thought possible? For years, Russia's capital has been presented as one of the most secure cities in the world, a fortress shielded by layers of defenses, radar systems, and anti-aircraft missiles. The Kremlin projected confidence, boasting that nothing could touch the heart of Russia. But on this night, Ukraine managed to pierce that armor. The skies erupted with flashes, fireballs, and shockwaves that rattled homes and left millions of people asking, how could this happen? Today, we are going to unpack not just what happened, but what it means, why the footage you're about to hear described is unlike anything you've seen before, and how this attack could change the trajectory of the war. When we look at the exterior side of the event, it feels almost cinematic. Imagine the Moscow skyline at night, the iconic tall buildings glowing against the darkness, suddenly broken by streaks of light in the sky. The first blasts were seen by residents in multiple districts, and phones immediately started recording. These weren't the carefully edited official clips put out by governments. These were raw videos from balconies, car dashboards, and street corners. You see the sudden glow, hear the deep rumble of an explosion, and then silence followed by screams and sirens. The exterior picture is one of shock, because for the first time in decades, Moscow itself was visibly under attack. For people outside Russia, it was proof that the war had reached the very center of the country. For people inside, it was a terrifying new reality. Now, if we go deeper into the interior meaning, the inside layers of this story, we uncover something even more profound. Moscow was not just physically struck, it was psychologically pierced. The Russian government has worked tirelessly to convince its citizens that the war is distant, that life in the capital is safe, that while rockets may fall in Kiev or Kharkiv, Muscovites can go on with their routines. But this attack shattered that illusion. Eyewitnesses described the sound of drones buzzing overhead, then loud booms that shook windows. People flooded social media with clips of glowing skies, asking, "Is this really happening in Moscow?" The official response tried to downplay the event, insisting most drones were intercepted, that only minor damage occurred. But the videos tell another story. You see fire on rooftops, emergency vehicles racing through streets, and smoke rising from buildings that should have been secure. Inside Russia's information space, cracks are starting to show. Independent voices say this was a wake-up call, a sign that Moscow is no longer immune. And for Ukrainians, the interior meaning is even sharper. It was a message of defiance, proof that Russia's capital could feel the same fear Ukrainian cities have lived with for over 2 years. Performance is the next key part of this story. These attacks were not carried out by fighter jets or massive missiles that cost millions. Instead, they were carried out by drones, small, relatively cheap, and built for precision. This is where Ukraine has adapted brilliantly. Instead of trying to match Russia's vast arsenal of heavy weapons, Ukraine is turning to innovation, to speed, to surprise. Each drone costs only a fraction of what Russia spends trying to stop it, and yet the performance speaks for itself. Dozens were launched, many were intercepted, but some broke through. The footage captures multiple strikes, multiple fireballs. It shows a defense system overwhelmed by the sheer number of incoming threats. Analysts say this demonstrates a new form of asymmetric warfare, where a smaller force uses creativity and efficiency to outmaneuver a larger, stronger opponent. The performance is not just military, it is symbolic. For Ukraine, each successful strike is a statement. We can reach you, no matter how far, no matter how strong you claim to be. The question of safety now looms large. For years, Muscovites lived in the comfort of believing their city was safe. Unlike Kiev, Odessa, or Lviv, where sirens and shelters became part of daily life, Moscow's residents carried on as though the war was distant noise. But this attack exposed the lack of safety features for civilians. Videos show people filming explosions from balconies, unaware of the danger. Cars stopped in the middle of highways, drivers staring up at the sky, not knowing whether to keep moving or run. There were no widespread warning sirens like in Ukraine, no immediate system to guide people to shelter. For the first time, Moscow civilians experienced what Ukrainians have endured for months: sudden terror, confusion, and the realization that they are not untouchable. The illusion of safety was stripped away in one night of fire and smoke. If we think about the unique selling points of this attack, they become very clear. Ukraine doesn't just want to cause damage, it wants to send a message. The footage shows not only the physical strike, but the psychological one. Every explosion undermines the Kremlin's narrative of control. Every drone that makes it through says, "Your defenses are not as strong as you claim." For the world watching, the unique impact is proof that innovation can challenge brute force. Allies in Europe and America see that their support is not wasted, that Ukraine can use technology effectively. Rivals and neutral countries notice too, realizing that Russia's capital is vulnerable. These selling points strengthen Ukraine's position, boost its morale, and remind the world that this war is not one-sided. The price of this attack is another striking element. On one side, the cost of each Ukrainian drone is relatively small, sometimes only a few $1,000s. On the other side, Russia fires interceptors worth hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions, to shoot them down. The economic imbalance is staggering. Ukraine forces Russia to burn through resources at an unsustainable rate. Each drone that gets intercepted still costs Russia more to destroy than it cost Ukraine to send, and the price isn't only measured in money. The human cost is emotional, psychological, and political. Civilians in Moscow are now forced to live with fear. The Kremlin must decide whether to escalate, risking international backlash, or to admit vulnerability. For Ukraine, the price includes the danger of retaliation, the possibility of harsher strikes against its own cities. But in terms of strategy, the balance of cost and impact leans in Ukraine's favor. And finally, when we draw a conclusion from this entire event, the meaning becomes clear. This was not just one strike, not just one night of fire, it was a turning point. It showed that no city, no matter how protected, is completely safe. It proved that modern warfare is no longer about massive armies clashing head-on, but about speed, technology, and precision. It forced Russia's citizens to confront a reality they had been shielded from. It showed Ukraine's resilience, its refusal to back down, and it reminded the world that this war is far from over, that it is entering a new and dangerous phase. As the skies over Moscow returned to quiet, the images remain burned into memory. The flashes of light, the sounds of explosions, the shock in people's voices. This is the footage you haven't seen, the story that official statements won't fully tell. It is a story of defiance, of innovation, of a smaller nation showing that even giants can bleed. It is history unfolding in real time, a warning of what is to come, and a symbol of Ukraine's determination to keep fighting no matter the odds. And so, as we end this deep dive, the message is simple but powerful. Ukraine's attack on Moscow was not just an attack on a city. It was an attack on an idea, the idea that Russia's capital was beyond reach. That myth has now been broken, and the consequences will ripple across the war and across the world. Stay tuned, because this story is far from finished, and the footage you haven't seen is only the beginning of what's to come.